What do you really want? I think that is a question that everyone should ask their child at a very early age and should keep asking their child that over and over again for years and years. What is it that you really want? That's a question that many people never ask, and many people need to ask themselves that question, but they never do it because sometimes we think that what we want is what we see on TV or what we hear from other people, or we want to be the hopes and dreams of our parents. But what do we really want? Let's break down what it is that we want, and then we can try to find ways to get to that instead of going around the bush, climbing over walls, squeezing under fences, and all those things, trying to discover what we really want. I think it's more important for us to discover what we want before we begin our journey. Now, what we want may change when we come to the end of the journey, but it is still important to know what it is that we want. What do you want? I can tell you what I want. I want to be in a place where there's peace, no bombs, no war, no violence, no need for police running up and down the streets at all hours of the night, no people nutty enough to be carrying pistols and rifles just to go shopping or to the coffee shop. I want a place of peace and tranquility. I want people close to me, friends and community. A community where I can walk down the street and if I see a friend who I know, I can stop by and hang out with that person. Perhaps have a little bit of a coffee or have a drink, sit in the backyard, just hang out until we both have to go somewhere and do something else. Or a community where we can set up a time where all of us can come together and meet together and just hang out. The type of community where you not only have all kinds of nice furniture sitting out in the backyard or the front yard, but you use that furniture because you have time. And you can sit out there and you read and you can talk with people as they start walking by and they might drop by because you have similar interests. I want a community where if you haven't been seen for a long time, people worry. They come to the door or they check on you sometimes. And if you get sick, someone may even bring you food or get vegetables for you. That is the type of community that I want, and those are the things that I want. I want work that is meaningful, not something that I am enslaved to just to make enough money to provide for food, clothing, and shelter. I want work that is meaningful and challenging with enough time off to live as a human being, to make connections with my community, enough time off to be able to travel every so often, go around the world, see new things, and not just for 1 week or 2 weeks. I want something like they have in Europe where you can have 8 weeks vacation. That is what I want. And all the rest just hangs on that foundational desire. And my guess is that almost everybody in this country and in this world, almost everybody wants the same things. Because with what I'm talking about, you see, people are able to be free, and people are able to be around people when they want to. And if they are in very close friendships, they can go somewhere and be alone. Because people will know how they are. And they'll know if a person needs a break or not. And they'll be totally satisfied with the fact that the person needs a break without being hurt or disappointed. That is what I want. What is it that you want? Cars, houses, many different people to hang out from the opposite sex, partying, shouting, dancing. What is it that you want? And what is it that you really want? And when I say you, I don't mean the you who have been influenced by your family and friends. I mean the real you. The one that you hide in the closet every so often because you don't want people to see it because they might reject you and disagree with what you are. And that would be fine if it was a mask, if it was something fake. But if they see the real you, the authentic you, and reject that part, it would hurt even more. What is that part looking for and desiring? That is the question nowadays, isn't it? And so we sit in front of the TV or we listen to the MP player, walk sometimes, run, do anything to fill up time. But it doesn't really matter. It's like eating food that you don't like. We eat it and eat it, but it just is not satisfying because it has no quality. Life can be like that. So what is necessary is that we have to develop a quality of life right here and now because many of us can't afford to just go somewhere where that exists. And this can be done step by step, you see. But in order to do that, one has to uncover that little authentic self that most of us have learned to hide and bring it out into the open boldly. One has to be oneself boldly, knowing this, that they are eternal and they are very powerful, and if they are being judged unfairly, it is not because of any flaw that they have. It is a flaw in the person doing the judging. So a lot of us struggle, feel lost, down, and depressed, mainly because we are not being ourselves. And our authentic selves is what I mean. Do you know your authentic self? Do you know who you are? Do you know what you want? Can you separate yourself from wealth and status or poverty and lack of status? If you step outside of all those designations of gender, sexual orientation, race, ethnicity, and class, if you step out of all of those, what do you have left when you look into the mirror? What do you see? Because you see, if you don't see the beauty that you are, it is because it has been buried over by all of the lies and all of the projections, negative and positive, given to you in a society that wants to freeze you in time and space. A society that wants to be able to predict who you are and what you are and how you will behave from one moment to the next. A society that is afraid of change, afraid of personal growth, one that suffers from the pain they are familiar with and are willing to stay within that pain more than letting it go and taking a chance of having a new type of pain that might be worse. There was an example that came from a study with Pavlov's dogs. What Pavlov did was he had the dogs in a big giant metal box. This metal box had a metal floor, and there was a wall in the middle separating one side from the other. What he would do is he'd send electric into the floor of the box where the dog was. The dog would feel the electric charge and the dog would jump over the wall to the other side for safety. And then later he would do the same thing to the other side and the dog would jump over the wall for safety. This kept happening over and over. Every time he shocked the dog, it jumped over the wall. And then one day he tied the dog down so that it couldn't escape the shocks. And he kept shocking the dog over and over again. And then he removed the straps that held the dog down. And when he shocked the dog no longer jumped over the wall to escape. The dog realized that there was no escape from the shocks, and he learned that he would have to sit there and take it with the hope that the shocks would pass. Welcome to year 2023, where life has become so miserable that many of us think that we cannot change it, and if we can just hold on and ignore it, watch enough TV, drink enough, take enough drugs, we think the pain will pass. We don't want to jump the wall anymore. Well, the pain is not going to pass. And it's time to not jump the wall, no, but to break the box, to get out of the box, to get out of the artificial human form that we've all been jumped into, where we not only live in a box ourselves, but we create boxes for everybody and everything. We've created a God box where we define God as one certain thing, and we put God in the box. God can only behave the way that is written in our sacred texts about God. God cannot go outside of the box. God has to be a certain way, and in some instances, God has to appear a certain way and look a certain way and be a certain ethnicity or gender or be an image of human beings. And so we put these boxes everywhere. We have to break out of the box. We can't have a box with a wall and try to find pleasure and peace by jumping over the wall from one side to the next because we're still in the box. It's time to get out of the box. Being one's authentic self in a world that tells us that we can't do this or shouldn't do it is breaking out of the box. And the realization of who and what we are, beautiful beings created in the image of that creative force at the center of the universe, when we realize that is who we are, and we are resilient and cannot be destroyed, and the only way someone could possibly say something negative about us is because they have never seen us. They've never seen the real us. They don't know us. And mostly because they don't know themselves. Because if they knew themselves, they could see who and what we really are. Before we can allow this to happen, not even before, while it's happening, we have to see who and what we really are under all the pain and hurt and the shields that we have put up to protect ourselves from the pain and hurt, the anger at injustice and suffering, the anger at having to get up early in the morning to do some job that is just horrible and meaningless, except for adding money to the GDP. Things have to change, and we are the ones who need to change it by shifting inside and realizing that we are great, powerful beings, that we don't need any work, that if we accept ourselves fully and completely, we will work in unison with the Tao or the creative process or the divine, whatever you would like to call it. By doing these things, we become free and we change the world. We create beauty wherever we go. We become like a fountain bubbling up everlasting water in deserty places. In other words, we return back to our true self, back to the source. And then when people come to us with foolish propositions or foolish statements and say that some gods told them to hate certain people and love other people, or told them that one religion is false and the other isn't, or that we're going to be thrown into hell burning and screaming because we've been allowed to be conditioned not to see the truth. When things like that come up, we will be able to think clearly enough to see that it is a lie, to see that it's foolishness, to understand that people who have a tainted religion can only have tainted politics. And we can truly see that politics and religion have been woven together, especially for the last 30 years, to push everything backwards, to destroy diversity, destroy multiculturalism, to destroy empowerment for women, to destroy anything that will lead us to freedom. It had been used to thwart the life of the human being, to thwart the betterment of the society, instead of lift it up as it was meant to, because a few narrow-minded, non-thinking human beings, either by default or being stupid or by purposeful manipulation, have been pushing us in the wrong direction. They're living out of fear and anger, and they're trying to teach all of us to live that way also. And for some of them it is natural. But for the majority of us, such behavior is not natural. And it should be us teaching them how to be decent human beings, not them teaching us how to be good capitalists. Capitalism in itself is not the problem. The problem is the greedy, fearful, and unintelligent are running capitalist ventures and destroying the world. The medium is not the problem, you see. It's always the one who is running the medium that taints it, poisons it, makes it useless. Even so, we the people have the power to change that. We can cleanse ourselves. We can cleanse our communities. We can cleanse the world. We can be serious about who we want to elect and vote for, and maybe even run ourselves. We can be serious about working together in order to create jobs in the community, cooperatives, security jobs maybe, things that people pitch in the local community to create. And the most important thing is to stop being afraid to get to know the people next door or across the street, thinking that we might not get along and some type of trouble may start, or they may need something someday that we don't want to give them. Projecting the negativity, projecting the doubt, projecting the mistrust on the various people and onto the future only creates a world of pain and suffering. But if we all know each other well enough, no one will be able to take advantage of any other person, but everyone can work together into creating a world that is beautiful, just, loving, and kind for everyone. That's what we want. If you like what you're hearing, subscribe, hit the thumbs up, hit the bell, and I'll be putting up another video soon. Take this journey with me. Recreate the critical mindset that questions and finds the truth. And as long as we are able to step back, to question, and find the truth, the many manipulating agents that we have in this world, and especially in this country now, won't be able to do a thing. It is time for all of us to set ourselves free by setting our minds free. Thank you for being with me.